Well, hello, welcome again to a read through of 2 Corinthians, and I'm up to the beginning of chapter 11. So here Paul is speaking against certain people who he refers to as apostles. A bit later he calls them false apostles. It's not clear exactly the context of this or who these people are. So he begins Ophilon, anarchesthemu mikron ti aphrosunes. Alakai anarchesthemu. Paul occasionally does this. He sort of says, I'm going to say things that are silly, bear with me while I do it. And he says here, so ophilon, literally would that. So it would that you bear, you put up with some small piece of foolishness from me. So I would that you would put up a little bit of silliness from me. Allah kai anarchesthemu. And Allah often by itself in Greek prose and in verse as well, in plays, Allah, first word of the sentence, often can be translated as come, as a kind of conjunction here. So it's something like, but come, bear with me. Indulge me almost. Tselo ga humas thiu tselo, he mosamen. Ga humas heni andri parthenon hagnain parastesai to Christo. For I am, well, zealous for you, or jealous of you, or zealous, what might be better here, for I am zealous for you with the zeal of God. This next verb here is a middle from hamosdo, and hamosdo simply means to join together, but it often also has the sense of to betroth or espouse. Now that is a classical meaning. You'll see that used in the prologue of Euripides' play The Electra. You'll see exactly the same word used in the same sense of betroth. So it is a classical usage. So for I betrothed you, heni andri, to one man, to stand beside the Messiah as a hagnain, as a pure virgin, or as a holy virgin. Perhaps pure might be better here for hagnos. The to Christo is in apposition with heni andri. You can take the word order as you like there. So I betrothed you to one man, the Messiah, to stand beside him, understood as a pure virgin. Phobumai deme pos, hos ho office ex a patesan huian in te panorgia autu, phthareta noemata hemon apotes haplotetos, and then brackets kai tes hagnotetos, tes eston Christon. We've got an indefinite pose here. It's indefinite with, it's enclitic, hence the accents put back onto the previous word. So I fear lest perhaps or perchance. Hos, I think here again for host pair, so just as the serpent, this is from ex apatao, apatao is to deceive, ex makes it very strong, totally deceived, ewan, huan here is Eve, by his or by its panorgia, by its cunning or craftiness, good classical word. And the subject of the verb here is orphis, so it's again, so it's lest perhaps the snake who did all this might corrupt your thoughts away from the simplicity or perhaps sincerity which you have understood for the taste in regard to the Messiah. The bit in brackets here, and of the purity or purity So we get two haplotes, haplotetos, sincerity, and hagnotes, purity, if we're going to read that. So a slightly contorted sentence here, but so it's just, I fear lest perhaps, just as the snake totally deceived Eve by its cunning or craftiness, that it, the serpent, might corrupt your thoughts away from, I think, the sincerity which you have in regard to Christ, the sincerity and purity which you have in regard to Christ. Amen ga hot kominos alon Jesu, keruxe hon uk e keruxamen, e pneuma heteron lambanete, ho uk e labete, a euangelion heteron ho uk e dexas there, kalos anakeste. For if, literally the one coming, it would have been easier if we'd put a tis here or something, so someone coming. So if there was the one coming, so if someone coming proclaims another Jesus, which we did not proclaim, or you are receiving another spirit which you did not receive, understand perhaps before, or another gospel which you did not receive. Again, there's no great difference between the lambano and decamai here. So if you do all that, kalos anakeste, literally you forbear well. In other words, you accept it readily, you accept it well, you put up with it easily. Logisdamai ga maiden hysterekenai ton hyperlian apostolon, e decai idiotes to logu alla utegnose, al enpanti venerosantes en passin es humas. For I reckon, I regard, understand myself, to fall short in no regard, so in other words, to be any less than, so I do not regard myself any less than the apostles. And then we get this funny hyperleon, which is actually an adverb here. You'd expect an adjective, but it is technically an adverb. The word only occurs here. It's probably a Pauline expression, and it's being used sarcastically. It may be Pauline coinage. Paul likes words beginning with huper. So leon means excessive, and huper means super excessive, perhaps preeminent, and it's being wedged between the article and the noun here. Some people translate this as the super apostles. So for I do not reckon myself to be to fall short in any way, or to be any less than these super apostles, literally the apostles, the one who are very preeminently. Eidekai idiotes. Now, an idiotes, unfortunately, we get our modern word idiot from this, but an idiotes originally was a private citizen, was someone who did not engage in public life or politics in any way, and therefore someone who did that was thought to be uneducated and gauche. In other words, not to have an opinion on anything, not to be well educated. So he says, if I am an idiotes, perhaps translated as gauche, so if I appear gauche in my words, in my argument, and then he says, but understand I am not in my knowledge. So I may be a little bit backward in my speech, but I'm not in my knowledge. But now I think he gets a bit worked up here. It's en panti, and we get en passin. So I think it means something like, but in each matter, having made clear, understand things to you in passing, probably something like in every respect, literally in all things, so in every respect. So something like, so even if I am a little bit gauche in my speech, but I'm not in my knowledge. But in each matter, having made things clear to you in each case or in every respect, something like that there. The Greek is very hard to get the complete sense of. E hamatian epoiesa emauton tapenon hinahumes hupsothete hotidorion totutheu euangelion euangelisamen humin. Now it's a question here. So it begins with or. So or, literally, did I make a sin? So did I make a mistake? Tepenon is a participle, humbling or debasing myself in order that you might be lifted up. So you might be exalted. Hoti, because the main verb here is I proclaimed to you the gospel of God, Dorian, free of charge. And he puts that early in the sentence for emphasis. So did I make a mistake debasing myself in order that you might be lifted up or elevated? Because I preached the gospel of God to you free of charge. Alas ecclesias esoules labon opsonion pros ten humon diakonian. Kai paron pros humas kai husterethes u katinakes udenos. I'll just pause it there. Very strong word here. Sulao is the verb, is an alpha contract verb, to rob. So I robbed other churches, literally, having taken opsonion, wages, with regard for the ministry of you. In other words, in order to minister to you. By having taken a wage, I robbed other churches. In other words, I didn't charge you anything, but I got help from elsewhere. And he says I robbed them. Opsonion is a wage, perhaps you're going to supply from them, having taken a wage. So I robbed other churches, having taken a wage from them for your ministry. Literally for the ministry, I think it's to you, even though it's genitive here. Opsonion, interesting word. It's connected with opson, which is cooked meat, and the on in here is from oneamai, to buy. So this is money used to buy your food, and hence it comes to mean a wage by this stage. It's a diminutive. And being present with you, and husterethes, and well, it's something like running short. In other words, being in want, being in need. I did not burden, and then it takes here, I did not place a burden upon no one. Now you can see by this stage the Greek letter delta, which classical Greek was a hard D, by this stage it's softened to a the sound, which is completed in modern Greek, and it's happening even at this stage. So they're spelling oudenos as oudenos because that's how it would have been pronounced. So this is just oudenos, another spelling of it. The verb here, katanakio, it's a funny verb, cognate with our word narcotic. In classical Greek or in earlier Greek, it meant to numb somebody, to stupefy them, presumably with alcohol or something, but it meant to stupefy them, to numb them. So it's a very strong word to use here. So he said, I didn't, it's a bit like our expression to put the bite on someone. So he says, although I was in need, I didn't put the bite on anyone. Toga husterema mu pros an eplerosan hoiadelphoiothontis apa Macedonias. On the next page, for the husterema, literally the falling short, or my falling short, that is my need, and so the subject is here. So the brethren having come from Macedonia, and the verb here is pros anapleroo. It's only here, we saw it in chapter 9, it's only here in the New Testament, otherwise very rare. It just means to supply, really. It means it's pros plus ana plus pleroo. So the brethren having come from Macedonia, they supplied my shortfall, that my need, that which I was falling short by. Kai en panti abare emauton humin et teresa kai tereso. And in each, something like, in each situation, I kept from Terio, I kept myself. Abare is alpha privative plus this baros root, third declension, meaning burdensome, and this is not burdensome. So I kept in each case I kept myself unburdensome to you. In other words, I made sure I was not a burden to you, and I will understand myself unburdened towards you. Esti aletheia Christou en emoi hoti he kaukesis haute uk phragesetai es eme en tois klimas in te sakaias. The truth of Christ is in me, that, so in other words, I'm telling you the truth in Christ, that this boasting, euphragesetai is a future passive, the verb is phraso, it's connected with, there's a noun, phragmos, etc. It means to contain something, to fence it in. You get a noun phragmos, I think, which is a fence. So this boasting will not be contained. This boasting in me will not be contained in the klimasin, in the districts or regions of Achaia. Dative plural from klima, meaning a district or territory. It's like our English word climb, C-L-I-M-E. Not a word used greatly now, but a climb is an English word. It's taken from this, of course. So the truth of Christ is in me, that this boast will not be contained in me, in or among perhaps the regions of Achaia. Diati, why? Literally on account of what thing? Hoti uk agapo humas hothios oiden. Is it because I do not love you? Hothios oiden, God knows, understand that I do. Hode poio kai poieso hina ek kopso ten aformen ton thelonton aformen hina enho kalkontai hurithosin kathos kai hemes. This is a difficult verse, in fact, so I'll translate this as best I can here. It's something like, that which I do and I will continue to do, understand I do in order that ek kopso, from ek kopto, I might knock out, literally, Afhomein is an abstract noun. The original sense of it was to send forth a ship from its mooring, to send forth a ship from the harbour. And it means an opportunity or pretext. It comes to have that meaning, and Paul does use this elsewhere. It's like a starting point. It's a way in, to put it into modern English. So I've done this in order that I might literally knock out the pretext of those wishing a pretext, literally. In other words, I might knock out the opportunity of those who are wanting an opportunity. Something like, a bit like in the modern expression, I might cut the ground from under those who are wishing a way in. Now this next bit's very difficult. It's something, there's many different interpretations. It's a very obscure verse. I did look at a few different translations, and most of them paraphrase it. They don't keep very close to the Greek, but I'll just try and do that. So I've done all this in order that, so they're looking for a way in order that they might be found. This is an aorist passive subjunctive, that they might be found in the matter in which they boast, just also as we are. So slightly obscure here. So something like, in order that, in the manner in which they boast, they might be found just as we are. That is, in the same situation as we are in. So I think the sense is that they can boast just as we do. So they're looking for some sort of opportunity, some sort of way in. So just to do that verse again, because it is very difficult. So that which I do and I will do, understand I do it in order that I might knock out a way in for those looking for a way in. And they're looking for it in order that in the manner in which they might boast, they might be found just also as we are. That is, they might boast in the same way as we do. Hoiga toi utoi pseud apostoloi, ergatai dolioi, metaschematid zominoi eis apostolus Christu, kai uthalma hutos gar hosanatas metaschematizdatai es angelon photos. Mega e kai hoi diakonoi autu tu, metaschematizontai hos diakonoi dikaiasunes, hon totelos estai katata erga auton. For such men, understand, are pseud apostoloi, false apostles, workers, guileful workers. So dolios here is being used as an adjective, so guileful workers, we would say workers of guile, but literally guileful workers. Metaschematizdo in the middle, this is a middle participle here. It means to change. Meta when a verb has a sense of change, and schema, well, it can mean appearance or something. So metaschematizdo in the middle means to disguise oneself. So disguising themselves as apostles of Christ, kai euthema, and it's no wonder, it's not a surprise, for Satan himself disguises himself as an angel of light, or perhaps transforms himself into an angel of light. Umega Nor is it therefore any big deal, mega, if also his servants transform themselves as, or disguise themselves as servants of righteousness, whose end will be, so of whom their end will be in accordance with their works. So their end will be in accordance with their works. And that is the first part of chapter 11.